The Devas and Asuras. This is a concept we hear a lot about in Vedic astrology of these different types of gods. But what are they really? What makes them different? And what are some misconceptions about them? Everyone, I'm Brian Easterday, and welcome back to Eye of the Storm Astrology. So today's video, I'm going to be talking about the Devas and the Asuras, which for those of you who don't know, those are they're like two different types of gods or deities that we see in the Vedic philosophy. So first off, the Devas. These are like the gods that people think of as like the heavenly gods, the celestial gods. They're kind of more willing to cooperate with others, and I'll explain why that is here in a bit. And they're the ones that dwell in Swarga, or at least they currently dwell in Swarga. Although the Asuras and the Devas both used to dwell there together, and Swarga is like the heavenly paradise. So for those of you who don't know, now the Asuras, and this is the one that people have a lot of misunderstanding about. The Asuras, many people label them as demons, and that's not really accurate, especially if you're thinking about demons from like the Abrahamic or monotheistic type of, or even the more Western type of philosophy and mindset. These are not the same as the Asuras. Very, very different things. The reason why they kind of get that bad rap, though, is because they're more what you could say like terrestrial type of gods. They deal with things like reproduction and magic and fertility and the weather and all of these like different type of things. If we really want to understand these, we need to understand the language, the Sanskrit of why are they called Deva and Asura, or also Sura and Asura, because that's another word for the Devas is Asura. First off, Surya means very powerful, or powerful. So it just means strong. They're a god. They're a powerful being. Then Asura means very powerful. Like they're even more powerful than the Devas. This is why they tend to be more individualistic, less likely to want to cooperate because they don't need to. They're a powerful individual on their own. Why would they need help from anybody else? Whereas like the Devas, they're fighting the Asuras all the time, and they're not as powerful as them. So they have to cooperate and organize together in order to try to battle them. So because the Asuras are just very powerful beings, it doesn't mean they're bad. It just means they tend to be more individualistic. They're less likely to bow a knee to someone. They don't see the need for that. They're like more sovereign type of beings. Now, if we want to understand why the war between these beings actually came up and why the Asuras have kind of gotten a bad rap, we have to look at one of the original mythologies. And this is how Indra became the king of the gods. Now, keep in mind, Indra is just a functional title. So there's different Indras at different times in history. But the Indra that we're talking about is the when everybody says Indra, this is who they're referring to. He's the god of thunderstorms, rain, that type of thing. So originally, the original Indra, or king of the gods, was an Asura named Varuna. And he is like he's like a Vishnu, but on like in the physical plane. So he was very wise. He was meant to judge everybody because he could see things from all perspectives, that type of thing. He was a very good king. He was someone that should have been in that position of leadership. One of the other Asuras named Vitra, he was a dragon, and he really wanted to, he found Apis, the goddess of river and flowing waters, just so attractive that he really wanted to have her. So then he took her and he tried to constrain her. Now, Varuna, seeing things from everybody's perspective, saw that not only like Vitra, that he was just really infatuated with her, and like, yeah, that probably isn't going to work out for him, but I don't need to intervene. It'll work itself out. She's Apis, like she's water. You can't contain her. She's going to free herself. The thunder god who ends up becoming Indra, at the time, he couldn't make rain. He couldn't do his job because this dragon was holding Apis hostage. So he became very upset. So then he went and tried to attack the dragon, and it didn't work. He lost. And then he had to go and do what Indra does best, which is become a politician. And this will tell you a lot about how Jayastha Nakshatra operates, because that's Indra's Nakshatra. But what he started doing was whispering here, well, maybe Varuna shouldn't. Maybe he isn't so partial. Like he's an Asura, and then this dragon, is an Asura. Maybe that's why he's not doing anything about it, right? Maybe he is biased. Maybe he's not as unbiased as what we think him all to be, which is the reason why we have him being, he becomes very crafty, and he starts, doing manipulation. Through this process, he ends up usurping the throne from Varuna, and then he becomes Indra. He becomes the king of the gods. But what he goes and does, then he takes it a step further, and he goes and profiles all of the Asuras, lumps them all together and said, oh, just because one of you did this, now all of you are banished from Swarga. And they were wrongfully ejected from their home. So they get angry about this. This is why they hate Indra. This is why there's a war between the Devas and the Asuras. So it's not such a black and white thing that, oh, Devas are the good guys and Asuras are the bad guys. This is not the case at all. If the Devas are the good guys, well, their king, the guy they have in a leadership position, isn't always so shiny as everybody makes him out to be. He actually makes quite a lot of pretty terrible mistakes and poor judgment calls, especially for someone who's supposed to be a leader. That's even one of the things he used to get Varuna off the throne, is he said a good leader should be beyond reproach. A good king should be beyond reproach. He should be so wise and act so correctly and with such wisdom that no one can say anything bad about it. But does Indra hold that standard for himself? Not at all. So you can see some of that quality. So it's not such a black and white thing. And then, for example, like one of the kings of the Asuras at one time, Bali, he was a very spiritual being. Wanted nothing more than to worship Guru, was extremely humble, was a very good being. But yeah, he was the king of the Asuras. Not such a black and white thing here, we can see. So get out of your mind that the Asuras are something bad, because they're just really powerful beings.
The Vedas explain that the universe is divided into two spheres, the planetary systems inhabited by the Asuras or Devas, and the planetary systems inhabited by the Asuras. The Asuras are evolved beings who are advanced in terms of knowledge, culture, piety, and spirituality. They are in charge of maintaining the universal order and are in direct contact with the divine. The Asuras, on the other hand, are atheists who are more interested in satisfying their carnal desires. Many Asuras are quite pious and charitable, but their idea is to evolve economically and not spiritually. The Vedic universe is thus divided between these two categories of beings. The Devas live in the higher planetary systems, where the light of the sun can be seen. The movements of the sun, according to the Vedas, are more complex than described in modern astronomy, involving annual ascending and descending cycles. Days and nights are connected with the movements of the sun and the earth, and thus have only 24 hours. But the days and nights of the Devas are connected with these larger cycles, where the most spiritually advanced groups live in the upper levels, and the ones who are more engrossed with matter live in the lower floors. The realm of the Asuras is also divided into several levels. The higher levels are paradisiac places called Bila Swarga, where the pious demons live. They are good-mannered and charitable, but they are not interested in spirituality at all. Because they are self-centered, many are propense to become angry when upset. The lower levels, however, are the home of races of envious and violent beings who abandon all kinds of moral values. There is a constant struggle between these two frequencies of consciousness inside our own heads. The influence of the Devas can be felt like a push in the direction of spirituality, pious life, non-violence, living a natural life, etc., where the Asuras push humanity in the other extreme, in the direction of a materialistic and artificial lifestyle, consumerism, environmental degradation, and so on. Usually, persons more in synchrony with the Devas tend to be spiritualists who try to live a simple and pious life, while persons more influenced by the Asuras want to live a more artificial lifestyle in the direction of consumerism and materialism. Cosmic Wars. As mentioned before, the Asuras live in subterraneous realms where there is no sun. All the light in their realms comes from other sources, like different types of artificial lights, fire, or special jewels. Just like in our plane, diamonds and other precious jewels emanate a small amount of light, there are jewels in their plane that emanate lights and are used for illumination. This does not mean that their lives are miserable though. Asuras are quite intelligent and expert in manipulating matter. Since they are interested only in matter and not in developing higher consciousness like the Devas, their standard of living is actually even higher. It's described that the higher Asuras live in celestial abodes, with palaces, parks, fountains, and so on. Most of the time, the Devas defeat the Asuras, but sometimes the Asuras win, and the Devas are forced to flee from their abodes. Thus, the cosmic order is inverted for some time, with impiety being rewarded and piety being punished, until Lord Vishnu comes as an avatar to help the Devas to expel the Asuras back to their realm and re-establish the cosmic order.
The word Asura, some of the cognates to it. I'll show you that.
Glorious are the names of Ashur and Asherah. Hello to you from Iran. Thank you for being with the Persian Magi. Today we are going to discuss the relationship between the Assyrian Empire and the House of David. They had a one and only male god who is called Ashur, or more precisely Ashur. Ash being the solar alif lam of Aramaic, it must be Al-Shur, which according to the Arabic grammar, it is pronounced like Ashur. Al is for identification, and Shur or Sur is the same Hur, the god of Egypt, who Greece later on called him Horus. Ashur is a feathered bird, god of sky, and represented by sun. The conversion of H to S or Esh is very important between these two civilizations. Not only Hur becomes Sur or Shur, but also the sacred wine of Huma becomes Suma, and Aha, the female god, becomes Asha of Zoroastrianism.
This is something very, very fascinating I learned from a Parsi priest who was on the show. What he spoke about was that Zoroastrians are also an ancient culture. And I've really deep dived into Zoroastrianism, which is the religion of the Parsis. I figured that it's perhaps definitely the sister religion of Sanatana Dharma. I'm pretty convinced.
I agree.
Even when you talk about the modern practices, it's literally in parallel with Sanatana Dharma. Be it worshipping fire, be it mantras, be it avastha, how we have Sanskrit. Now, in their mythology, the word daiva was villainous.
Yes.
In our mythology, the word asura was villainous.
Yeah.
Cuter fact, in their mythology, ahura is noble. Like it is the name of the angels.
Yeah.
And they pronounce sa as her. We have somras, they have homras.
Yes.
So their ahura, is it our asura? And their daiva, is it our dev?
Correct.
In the universe of Hindu and Buddhist religions, there is a race of semi-divine beings known as Asuras. These beings are described as powerful and ambitious, always seeking dominance. The Asuras in Hinduism are a group of power-hungry and constantly warring deities, sometimes considered demonic or sinful. They were opposed to the Devas, the benevolent gods. Both groups were sons of the patriarch Kasyapa, the creator of all living beings. The name Asura means decisive or firm and is believed to have a common origin with the Persian Ahura and the Norse Aesir, which also designate divine beings.
Is this the oldest deity known to mankind? And today we will be looking at the horned god, Cernunnos, and we'll be asking the question, is this the oldest deity known to mankind?